Another good opportunity here to have a conversation on free game. Thank you everybody for tuning in. If you're not familiar with free game, this is a platform put together by the Whitaker Group. We work in the retail space, and we'll allow for all of our panelists to introduce themselves as we get the ball rolling. Ms. Sharifa, I'll let you go first.
Hey, Sharifa Murdoch here, owner of Envision Fest, co-owner of Liberty Fashion and Lifestyle Fairs, and new chief of people for Kith.
No doubt. Mark, joining us this week, our special guest. Go for it, man.
Hey, hi from Toronto. I'm Mark Nabetta. I'm the founder and principal at Free State, a small community and culture practice, consulting practice up in Toronto, Canada. Happy to be here.
No doubt. Big Ari.
Ari Langsdorff, co-founder of the foundation. Sometimes Sharif and James let me carry their luggage.
Oh, you went first, so you got a chance to get that off.
This is a good.
You see, you went there. That's what happens when we let the dude go before it.
Go for it, Dre.
Dre Hayes, one quarter of the foundation.
We'll go for it, Jay.
I'm James, man. I'm everybody else's. I can't even come back. I'm James, the owner of the Whitaker Group.
There he is. There it is. My name is David Butler. I handle community for the Whitaker Group. Again, thank you guys for coming out and joining us for this conversation. I want to start. I guess I'll lob a question out there. Like, at what point did you guys cross over to where the conversation went from saving your bread and being responsible and budgeting to thinking about things from like a wealth perspective, or was that all looped in for you guys and anybody can kind of jump in?
I'll jump in first because I think it took me a while. I'm obviously at 41, right? You start looking back at your life once you, my age is showing. You start looking back at your life once you get to a point where you're not chasing bills anymore, right? Where you just, you blessed enough that you ain't checking your savings account every 2 weeks to make sure the checks is going clear, right? Sometimes in life, you're like, oh, how many checks is coming through? Let me check, balance, make sure you're good. But once you finally get to a point where you're not doing that, you start to reflect on it. And in reflecting in my relationship with money, which is why I wanted to talk about it, because no one really starts getting into the conversation. It's like taboo to talk about money only unless you're bragging about it, right? But it's taboo to talk about money and your relationship with money. Very early on, I think a little bit after I got in the streets, I realized there was an art and a science to just money. Like that was the thing. And then I remember when I was young and I went
on that because I think that's important for people listening. Like making a lot of money and being wealthy are two totally different things.
Yes.
So
yes.
Tons of people that end up with wealth never made the money that some people might be thinking on this chat right now that they made. Like you don't got to make $500,000 a year to establish wealth.
Exactly.
And
because Ari's so wealthy, that's why he was good to go in at that point. Because I'm still trying to get there.
I just want them to understand that like you were thinking about this on the street. You are 25 years to where you are now. A lot of money was made and lost between then and now, and you've still always committed to establishing your future.
Yeah, because I think, and everybody, I think I want all of y'all to chime in on this because there's the moment you start to realize, like, you start to sit there once you get money. I think if anyone watches Succession, I don't know if anybody watches, there's a show on HBO called
that show.
Right? And they start joking at the kid when he's like, well, at worst I'll have $5 million. And then everybody starts laughing at him. It's like, oh, you fucked up with $5 million. Well, $5 million ain't shit. $5 million is just enough to make you frustrated. You're too poor to stop working, but you ain't rich enough to spend money on anything. When you start thinking about that from the position that most of us were in at 18, 19, 20, that just sounds crazy as hell. But as crazy as it sounds, it's so true. That makes sense.
Well, a big part in the early parts of my life, I worked in banking. And being on the financial advisory side, I learned something very quickly. is working with a lot of people that accumulate a lot of wealth, as I already talked about. It was never about the single source. It's about constantly finding the next piece of income, the next opportunity that would be a long-term play. A lot of what you look at least from a wealth generation standpoint, is just diversification. And it's understanding how every dollar that goes to you can generate the next one, and knowing what sacrifices to make for the next one to come from. And I've never learned that better than just being on my own now, being an entrepreneur, or really just sort of sitting down of what you have and building up from here. Never thinking that a dollar you have is always going to be there the next day, and always thinking about investing it the next day. It's never holding on to it. It's figuring out that really you got to take the steps to continue to invest in yourself and invest in your business. And that creates a foundation of cash, and liquidity is everything at that point, that allows you to then diversify your different points of income. That's really what starts, at least.
I also think something important to touch on, I don't want to beat a dead horse. Like, again, you don't need to make a lot of money to start saving money.
All right, go into that. Go into that and go into that and
I'm on the free game really quick.
It's like, if you're making $30,000 a year, you should be doing whatever you can do to save 3,000 of it. If you work at an employer that offers you a 401k or an IRA or whatever, and they don't match, you still put into it, because it's money that the government doesn't tax. So whatever your tax rate is, right? If you pay 20% in taxes, you're getting that free 20% to put away, essentially. So
but
and if they do match, you're crazy not to do anything.
Hold on. But let me challenge that thinking though, right? Me and you both know 401k. Let's go to the bottom.
No, I'm going for streams. I'm not saying that's the only. I'm saying
check. Thinking about the person who and what you're saying is, hold on, it's 100% right. You got to be invested into a 401k, right? But I'm going into the mind of JR, right? Like, not James Whitner. I'm JR in Whitaker.
For Pittsburgh.
And you thinking to yourself, man, I'm trying to go from 20,000 to 100 to 5 to 1 million. And unless you buy Tesla, unless you got that information, you ain't getting there, right?
Right, but how did you do it? Let's just like time out and utilize.
That's the perfect. There's 3 ways to get there, right? 1 is building businesses. 2 is investing. 3 is real estate. Let's be very pointed, right? And because like the conversation, and guys, you realize this is going to be a multifaceted conversation, because I kind of went over Ari because we only got 2 hours. And I think there's going to be more people on the call that has ambition. And then there's going to be people on the call that's trying to figure out, how do they make money? What do they do with the money that they're sitting on? What's the next best step, right?
Well, yeah, it's also like, I'm 41 years old. Like, James and I are like 10 days apart. We're still learning,
yes.
Right? Like if I look at my 41-year-old self, I'm like kicking myself that I didn't do more when I was younger
1,000%
to advance where I'm at today. But I'm 41. I don't want to be 51 kicking myself, saying, damn, at 40, you knew you should have done at 30. And to James's credit, James has been in all of our ears since we were 30 on the real estate tip. But to me, the very foundation, whether you buy real estate, whether you put in a 401k, whether you invest in a business, is you can't spend what you make.
Yes. So yeah, number one principle: if you want money, get very, very, very comfortable putting yourself in a place where you can live very disciplined. Like,
best piece of advice I ever got: first check you write every month should be to yourself.
Right.
If that means that you can't live in the house you want to live in, or drive the car that gets more worthless every day that you drive it, or wear the watch that you want to, then like those are the sacrifices in your 20s. You'll be very, very, very glad you made in your 30s.
Let's keep it funky. And it depends on how much you want, right? If the goal is, we're still making sacrifices in our 40s. Before they got on the call, you guys were talking about building companies. Sharifa, when she just announced who she is, you heard her doing 3 different things, and she's probably forgetting another 3, if that makes sense. So the idea that you have to be disciplined, at all times with your time, not just with your time and your money. And yeah, you know, the idea of keeping up with the Joneses and buying things.
And, once you have money, right? Everyone likes nice things. And it also depends on the nice things you buy, right? There are watches, James, that you bought 10 years ago that are worth more than you paid for them 10 years ago.
Yeah, that's you're 100% right. But there's more return on a Pittsburgh rental property.
Yes.
Sharifa, me and Sharifa have been back and forth on it.
We work for a reason, right? And some of that reason is to, from time to time, reward ourselves. And that's up to each individual to know what their comfort levels are and what their bandwidths are. Like, I've wanted a new watch for 5 years. Dre tells me every year to go buy it, but like every year I talk myself out of it because I think there's a better place to put my money. So like, some of that is just personal, but I think the absolute benchmark for anybody is you cannot spend what you make. That's rule number one. Can't spend what you make.
After that, when you get into the conversation about basic savings, right? Like to ground the conversation a little bit, like what's that next step? Is it saving 10%? Is it saving 5%? Is it saving 20%? Like, what, as somebody who is like, I got my expenses down, what's the next? What's the next?
Go ahead, Sharifa.
I think you got to. It depends on the person and how aggressive you want to be, right? I think that there's some people that are disciplined that saves 50% of their check, right? They pay what they need to pay. There's people that pay their rent, they are buying peanut butter and jelly or tuna, and that's all they're eating, and they're saving their money because they're saving towards something. I think it's all about how you want to build your wealth, right? I'm going to be honest, for me, when I was younger, it was like, no one taught us this. This is the next problem, right? Yeah. And I think this conversation is really important because as a young Black girl growing up in Brooklyn, you're not taught about financial growth or wealth at all, right? So as I was working, I'm working at Louis Vuitton at the age of 20, and I'm buying Louis Vuitton bags because that's what they set you up to do. You know what I mean? And at the age of 20, when I got a call to come back and work in the atrium, something clicked at that age. And one thing I had always said to myself was, you know, all the kids go to college and they say, you got to go to school because that's what you was taught, and you got to pay all these student loans. One thing I knew is I saw my mother paying student loans until she was damn near 50. That's something I just didn't want for myself. So I made sure that I worked really hard with all the money I was getting to make sure I paid off my student loans. Because they don't teach you that, you know, they don't teach, nothing is taught to you. All these things that, and I'm happy that you guys set this conversation up because this is an important conversation for young people. Like the decisions you make,
Like, to further your point, like I grew up like Jewish in the suburbs. My father lost his job when I was in 7th grade, and come to find out, like the car was rented, the house was refied 47 times, and like, my parents didn't have shit. And the summer before, I'm going to camp for $5,000 a season. You know what I'm saying? So it's like the other thing that you witness in this world, and the younger you are, like financial literacy is something we've talked about a lot on here. And I think it's void across genre. And I think a lot of us grow up, or people that grow up in a more comfortable setting, also assume that people have money. And just because someone drives a nice car and lives in a nice house, that might mean they have good credit. It might mean they owe a lot of money.
Yeah.
It doesn't necessarily mean they have a lot of money.
So let's dive into two things real fast so we stay sharp. Debt and liability. College, and I want to say quickly, college sets you up to be an employee and a worker.
Yes.
Employees and workers live on 401ks. Their most important asset is their house, and they live in debt and they die in debt. Facts? Can anybody dispute that?
Facts.
If you're looking to get out of that, we've already established that it has to be about savings, and it can't be about debt. And to Sharifa's point, the relationship between education and the debt that you go into education is a very important education. Like, so for people who aren't, if you're going to go take the online degree, I applaud you for making a step for education. But when you go to leap into education, make sure that you're making the best investment into the best opportunity for education that you can get. Because if you make an investment in education for $45,000 and it only pays you back $15 an hour and you live in New York, I'm going to question that investment because there's no return on it. $15 an hour is minimum wage in New York, right?
The big thing to mention, James, and I think when we go back to basics of financial literacy is you can talk about the goals, and Sharifa really just brought that to light, that the goals are really important. And if we talk about percentage of how you approach it, that's perfectly fine. But one thing that gets missed sometimes that your savings can work for you. And it's finding the best financial instruments that work for your savings for you to continue to have these work for you, even though as you start adjusting your goals and figure out how you get closer to them. Now, you know, in a lot of cases, you can be an employee, but you need to have a vision. What are those goals are? And I find sometimes, at least from my experience when I saw back then, is a lot of people just want to save for the sake of saving and not knowing what they're doing with it, right? And having an end goal is very important. In all aspects of life, having an end goal is very important. But that goes back to help you understand what your sacrifices are going to be or where they're going to come from. You can be an employee for a very long time, but I know a lot of people that are employees that had vision, that had a plan. People that want to retire at 40 and they're making their savings work for them. So learning about the financial instruments that help you use your money along, and that can be as simple as a savings account with a high interest rate. That helps you get anything from there and starting there. But I think financial literacy starts for you, starting to find those instruments that are there that help your savings start working, and then kind of on the next thing.
So let's bust it down, right? So if I'm making $30,000 a year, right? You're making $30,000 a year in any place in the world. There's the cost, there's your cost of transportation, your utilities, your rent, and your fuck off money, right?
Food.
Yeah. Food isn't, food. When I was broke, eating wasn't that a priority.
Know what I'm saying? Regardless, know what I mean by that is when you start talking about essentials, you still have to feed yourself. I'm not talking about going out to dinner. I'm just talking about groceries, essentials.
Yeah. Oodles and noodles was the regular for me back then, right? So check. You're right though. But so let's look at it this way. To Mark's point, it's what you start doing. It's what you start doing with the money. I didn't have a traditional path because no one was hiring me, right? So obviously I start thinking about if you're from a place where you can invest in the real estate, let's kind of talk about that, right? Or we could either start talking about investing into another investment vehicle. But judging from the chat, I think people are super interested in real estate. So do y'all want to start talking about y'all experiences there? Because I think most of the people on the panel have an investment property.
Yeah.
I'm here to learn on that because I'm trying to join you guys in that territory.
James, I think you are the best to talk about that since
you are the master at this. Yeah.
Well, listen, here's a scary place. There's places in the country right now, and I could probably share screen you listings right now, sub 30,000. As we were on a call, I just got a listing for a place for $29,900. Right. So if you start looking at the Rust Belt in the Midwest and places in that part of America, I don't think you're getting a place for $9,000 or more, but let's call it 30 or 40. You can get a place for $40,000, right? Those places for $40,000 rent for between $700 and $1,200 depending upon the finishes, right? So let's do quick math. Mortgage on $50,000 at 3% is $150. Rent, even at its lowest, at $700. What's the delta? That's a $550 profit a month. So the thing that I'm hearing everybody say about
that's all that, it's still $300 a month.
Yep.
Yeah. So think about it this way. For me, 401k is laughable because I've always felt like my best investment was me, right? And until I had more than enough money that I can invest back into myself, only then would I invest in the stock market. Based on the rental property math I gave y'all, somebody just put it, Ohio, Baltimore, Memphis, Kansas City, Jacksonville, they're all
30% on your money.
Yeah, so based on real estate, I can get 30% of my money and I'm not managing. And then once you start getting the taxes, if what's our damn tax? Adam was here, he'd be saying like, yeah, this is great because this also works for depreciation and it's helping you on any income you may be making on your job, right? So let's do math. You buy that property for $40,000. You do the work yourself because you ain't got no money, right? You go to a bank, you get a mortgage. It's tough and it's going to probably take you a while to win a property because you're not paying in cash. but you'll eventually get one with a mortgage. You go in and do a lot of the work yourself, even if you're at 50,000 now. You're still at $150, $200 a month for mortgage, right? Even if you need to rent that place, if you got a roommate and charge your roommate, if rent is $700, $800, $900, you charge your roommate $500, you're still making money on the place, right? You could go back to your bank after you've done the work on the property. That place that you paid the place that you paid 30 or 40 for, put 10,000 in, right? Now you go to the bank and you found out automatically it's worth what, Ari?
50, 60. Now you got equity. Now you got an equity line to go buy your next house.
Now you got equity line, and on that equity line, you know you might have 10 or 15,000 up, and the next 10 or 15,000 you save, you double back and get your second property, and just continue to repeat until you go from one property to 100, if that makes sense. Then you look up and you start asking yourself, what's your monthly cash flow, right? If you work in a job and a job is paying you $50,000 a year, that's $4,000 a month. How many houses, how much residual income? Residual income means income that you're not actually working for, mailbox money, right? How many houses do you need to own before you can quit your job and the house income becomes your income so you can make more income? Does that make sense? And does that pretty much explain real estate to everybody? That's the short on
Residential investment.
Yeah, residential, not the appreciation game. That's just more just like rent rolling.
And I think sometimes something gets lost. James, can you explain like the concept of the value and importance of equity and
there
how
we go.
Overall investment, how that works?
And somebody said no down payment. Today, right now, down payments is at 5%. Today, right now.
And to mortgage right now, because of the volatility of the market, it's probably the most difficult time right now in the last 6 weeks.
Yeah.
To go get financing. If you have any kind of hiccup, just simply because the volatility right now, because all the big banks are scared the market's, the housing market's going to crash and they're going to get bad loans on their balance sheet. So
and somebody just said something very valuable. Unless you use a hard money lender, if you know you got a good deal, hard money is a little more expensive on an investment property, but it's still access to capital. Right now, there's more capital out here available than there's ever been in my lifetime. It's a free for all, people offering people money right now.
People don't know what to do with their money and they can't make any interest in the bank. So, so if the bank's charging you 2, they lend it to you for 7, they're making out better.
True.
And let me back up and make sure we unpacked everything and everybody understood everything I just said, because we do it every day.
I think we should make a graph, like a simple graph.
I think I want to go back to Mark's question about equity, James, right?
All right. So equity is the value of there's one, you pay $1 for your property, right? You do $1 in work to your property, meaning fix the roof, new drywall, new kitchen, new bathroom, right? Now you spend $2 on property. Property is now worth $10. The $8 difference is the equity that's in the property.
And the banks will let you borrow a percentage of that equity.
Usually up to 80%.
And then you use that money to go put your down payment on property number 2.
That's right. So it's value accrued that you then can use to continue to invest and find opportunities where you can then put that money. You don't have to use the whole of it, but then you start.
Right. It's James started the conversation by saying most employees' largest investment is their homes. I would say most people in America that own a home, their largest single asset is their house, whether they're employees, owners, whatever. And depending on the city you live in, bankers always tell you don't look at your home as an investment, right? Because that's where you live and your kids are and your family is. But if you live in New York or if you live in LA, where the markets move so fast and are so volatile and are so expensive, it's difficult to look at those as not part of your strategy. But in your real home, When you go buy a house for $100,000 and they say you need to put $20,000 down, that $20,000 is your instant equity.
Yeah. So does that make sense?
So to James's, I guess my point is to James's point, if your house is your largest asset, you can borrow against it. Borrow wisely because you don't want to be homeless, but it's not like if you put money into your home, you should feel like I have no access to capital anymore because there is equity in that house that results in you having access to capital.
Does that make sense?
I don't know, we're talking to each other.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
they need to use the parameter for
No, I think we've hit a point of clarity. I think the $1 to the $10 example is probably the easiest piece to grasp onto. And I think, well, there's a question in the chat from Kareem, and he's talking about as employees who have 401ks, using 401ks as leverage to have that same type of like startup capital to buy homes. What are you guys' thoughts on?
Yeah, no, listen, man, the whole catch is what we're saying is you can't sit there and expect it to happen. Taking your money and parking it into a 401k is not going to get you is not going to get you to the promised land. Mm-hmm. You have to have a the same difference like you want to lose weight and you got to have a strategy to diet and what you're going to eat, and you got to lower you have to have a strategy for money and how you're going to make money. It's the idea of just going to an employer and saying like it's your responsibility to get me to where I want to be comfort. Going in and saying, I work my hardest for you. You should give me more money. You're failing yourself thinking that way, right? The employer does have a responsibility to you, but you also have to have a responsibility to yourself and create your own financial goals and your own financial strategy, right? That and part of that financial strategy is stocks. One of you guys were saying something.
You got how many employees, James?
Somewhere around 200.
So after you get home from like your 12-hour day and you're sitting down with the kids and you're having dinner, are you at the dinner table thinking about one of the kids in one of the stock rooms and like how much money he needs to make? No. Right. So if you're an employee and you're under the impression that like you work your balls off and work your heart out and like you should get X, Y, and Z, don't think that the guy you work for or woman you work for is sitting at home thinking about how to pay you more money. So it is solely your responsibility to go and get it. Whether part of that equation is asking the employer for a raise or not, sitting at home and wait and thinking that other people are worried about your wealth and like your income is foolish.
Yeah, so
I wanted to address something though, because we kind of brushed right past it. Somebody had asked for the question about employees having a 401k and explain using your 401k as a loan to yourself to leverage against buying properties. Now, I would say this. Yes, you have the ability to borrow against your 401k, but you got to be very careful when you do that. Now, we're in a time where because of the current economic conditions going on globally, there's actually favorable terms for people to borrow against their 401k right now that you normally don't have. But you don't invest in your 401k anyway as a wealth building vehicle. Like that's not going to really build you wealth to begin with. That is to replace the pensions and the Social Security that you're not going to have when you get older. That's to give you some income later on in life so that you can live and not have to work until you're old and gray. So, so obviously the person that brought it up, there are people that go and do that. But when you do that, you're taking gambling, you're taking a risk. And scare money don't make money. Obviously, you have to make an investment. You got to be willing to lose on the investment. But a 401k should be your last resort, in my opinion, to go and borrow against, to go and do something. At that point, you might as well have put your money away and saved your money and invested that money. A 401k is a very dangerous thing to be messing with. I'm gonna keep
it funky with you, and y'all can quote me on this if y'all want. Y'all can challenge me. If I'm on the bottom, I'm not fucking with 401k. I'm saving that 18,000 myself, putting it into an account, and go get busy myself with that. Go figure out what's the best way I can get 30%. I ain't counting on nobody else to get me 10 or 12%. because 30% ain't get me 10 or 12% ain't get me off the bottom. I need to figure out how to take that 18,000 and turn it into 40 and then 80 and then fucking 160. And I need to do that in a year, not 12% in a year, if that makes sense.
It's risk tolerance, right? Like it's let's not forget it's a financial tool, it's a financial instrument. So it could be part of your strategy. It can't be your whole strategy, like you said earlier. Like it's looking at your entire ecosystem of what you have available to you. Literally, when you go to a financial advisor right now, they will do what's a KYC, which is know your client, which will do a risk assessment, and there'll be tools available to you. To Joy's point, a 401k is there for you to have a cushion. It literally is a cushion. The way the market performs right now, it literally can only be a cushion for you to look to in the future. If you really want to be aggressive, it's looking at your disposable income, what's left, your residual income, like you said, and start to find how to use that to start looking into the larger strategies that you mentioned, real estate, other investments, and truly like use that to start living a business. And then that starts looking about sacrifice. When we go back to Dave's question about earlier, 20, 30, 50%, it all depends on what you want to do with that, right? And how much you want to sacrifice and what kind of risk you're willing to take on. Because you're a big risk taker, James. Like you just go. It's just like, no, I'm gonna take that 18. I'm gonna bet on myself.
No.
Not everyone's equipped to bet on themselves.
Mark, I gotta challenge that. The other risk is being broke. I ain't fucking with that risk.
1,000%. But I would say, I think I said this to you before. The worst people with money that I ever had in my life were the people that worked in finance. Like the people I work who's supposed to know the markets and the industry were the worst with their money.
Man,
right? And they're choosing to be that way because they know better. So ultimately, you have to come to the table with a plan. And if you're looking to the next one, you're trying to keep up with the Joneses and figure it out. You're chasing someone else's goal. You got to figure out your own, right? So you can be an employee and you look at the tools around you, but understand your risk tolerance. And to Jay's point, like make another plan. That's one part of the strategy. You know what I mean?
And I want to touch on something James said, right? Because the 18.5 that you can stack in a 401k, and if that's the only money that you're able to save, right, then putting it all in a 401k is limiting. But if I try to save the 18.5 myself, not in a company given 401k, that means I got to make like 25,000 to stash 18.
Sure.
Because 18 I put in the 401k is not taxed. So it actually costs me less. So what some people do is they split it. They're like, all right, the max is 18. I'm only trying to get to 9 this year. And the balance I'm going to give to myself. And part of my strategy is going to be long-term. And part of my strategy is I'm going to get that duplex in Pittsburgh and putting a fucking renter in it.
But once again, I'm going to jump out there and challenge y'all again. That 18 is going to be 18 because I'm hitting HR department and saying like, yo, don't tax my bread. And I'm opening up an LLC to make sure I deposit that money in the LLC and I'm making my purchase through the LLC. And then I'm gonna let my accountant handle that with the tax man. I'd rather give my accountant 1,000 and put all of mine's in, and then my accountant can come back and bring me a tax bill of net zero, because we both know that when you invest in the real estate, the depreciation on that real estate is gonna handle that tax bill. So they ain't get my tax money. I'm taking that too.
That's spoken like a man who's never sent an email to any HR department. My whole life.
Yeah, I'm about to say, what HR department you talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah, I might be a little blind in the fact of what a conversation with HR actually looks like.
You're not getting that.
Yeah, nah, you know what it is, James? James, you know what it is? As fellow entrepreneurs, right? You've been an entrepreneur all your life, so and most of us have been on here. We've been entrepreneurs a good portion of our life as well. But when you're an entrepreneur, you're getting all whatever cash you're getting. There ain't no taxes coming out of it anyway. But for the regular working person that's working and getting that W-2 income, I mean, they can manipulate it. They can take more withholdings. They can do this. They can do that. But Uncle Sam, everybody getting a piece of that check. You know what I'm saying? So, you're not going to get everything that you make.
Which is the other part about this, man. When you start talking about being an entrepreneur versus being and listen, we all have to be employed. Most people have to be employed by someone at some point in their life.
Absolutely.
Right? So I acknowledge my circumstances were very different for tons of different reasons, right? But it's just so much more advantageous to understand how to set up an LLC, get a tax ID number, and start building your small business early. Because when you have a small business, you invest into your business and pay yourself, and then once it's all over, the tax man gets paid. As an employee, the first person you pay before you even get hold of your money is the tax man. That way of thinking is already like, yo, people have to understand all the advantages to making sure you at least have some level of entrepreneurial mindset. And Dave, if we beating this topic to death, make sure you let us know, because we can keep going down this rabbit hole.
Sure.
Yeah, I was about to, as Mark keeps bringing up this idea around financial instruments, right? And that was as someone who started out in corporate America, I didn't put nothing in my 401k when I was 22, 23, first got out of school and was making my first salary job. Part of that had to do because I understood that the company wasn't matching at the top of the percentage or whatever. So I was like, I might as well just keep this bread. But I still didn't even understand. It wasn't until I was getting ready to leave corporate America that I found out about just kind of like financial planning, right? And somebody introduced me to the concept of life insurance and all these and IRAs, Roth IRAs, et cetera, et cetera. Can you guys expound on any of those extra tools or other options outside of, because I think everybody who has kind of a standard job has heard of the 401k. But when somebody told me about, a Roth, which is different, right? It's still a like a long-term investment tool. It kind of cracked my head open just because of some of the tax incentives on the Roth versus the regular IRA, et cetera, et cetera. So let's talk about some other financial instruments that may that you guys have come across that may be helpful, or be a little bit more practical, or be a little bit more in touch to kind of help people move towards. Not everybody's ready to make that full real estate deal, to Mark's point, but I think learning about some of these, a short-term play to make your money that's liquid but has high interest rate, et cetera, life insurance, all these other types of things that are available that they can then go research or ask somebody about, et cetera. What are you guys' thoughts or experiences in that?
Mine's is, I'll say mine's quick and let somebody else go. Put your money in a checking account and read a real estate book.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't do any of those things. So I'll ditto on James's, comment.
Well, what I was gonna say, I mean, a Roth it's similar to a 401k. When you look at it, it's like a long-term investment vehicle for your money to let it grow. But when you start talking about life insurance, that was an interesting one, because, you start looking at whole life policies, variable life policies, and, Ari and I will both tell you the same thing. The old school way, and I remember my first job I got a whole life policy. When my son, who turned 20 yesterday, when he was born, I got a whole life policy because one of my old bosses told me I should get a whole life policy, and I got one. And the thing about whole life policies is those insurance policies are expensive. And I guess for those of you out there that don't know the difference between, let's talk about what insurance is, right? There's whole life, there's variable life, and there's term, right? Term is like renting insurance, right? Whatever money you spend on term insurance, and it is the least expensive form of insurance, but I have a term. If you have a 10-year term life insurance and say it's $1 million policy, it might cost you $100 a month, right? But if you die, then whoever is named as your beneficiary will receive the money. Well, when you do whole life insurance, the money that you spend on insurance grows. It's invested, right? So at a certain point, the old way people used to buy insurance is they would buy, let's say they bought a $250,000 policy. Well, that $250,000 policy might cost you $350, but it's only $250,000 worth of life insurance. But that's an investment vehicle. So when you put that money and you start investing on the life insurance, what used to happen back in the day is maybe you would invest in your life insurance for 4 or 5 years, and all of a sudden the policy would be making enough money to pay for itself. And then when it's all said and done later in life, whatever money was invested in life insurance would be sitting there in the bank, right? So that's why, and then variable life is similar to whole life. It's just there's more risk because of the way that it's played in the market. Well, all the financial advisors that I know at this point tell me that there's better investment vehicles than whole life life insurance. So the advice that we've been given is invest in real estate, like James is saying, or invest in another form of investment as opposed to doing whole life insurance, because it's a better return on your money.
Man, listen, I'm gonna keep it funky, man. I ain't gonna. Y'all came so we don't waste y'all time. Dave, the easy answer to that question is, if you coming from the bricks, from the dirt, unless you have a core competency in stocks. I mean, you understand how to analyze whole companies, and you can get on P&Ls, balance sheet, read annual reports. Got a cousin that work in the industry that can help you with industry trends. Then you might be able to dig in stocks and know what the next thing is. Shout out to my man Mick, who worked at the foundation, who's done an amazing job of taking his portfolio from A to $1 million and getting somewhere. But I'm gonna tell you what my banker tell me all the time. If I call him about something with a property, he say, "What's up?" It ain't no. He never says anything to me about me spending my money on anything when it got to do with property. And the number one way to acquire wealth is real estate. I'm gonna beat it over the head over and over and over and over again. And it's also the best return. And you can also do so many things with the asset, if that makes sense. There's so many different ways to grow the asset. So I hate to be redundant, but it's the answer.
But you talked about the three-pronged approach, right? Which is starting a business, investments, and real estate. And like in the investment part of it, I think, I was close to the markets in a previous life, and I would say it's a bit irresponsible if I was to use some of that own knowledge to say some things here. But I'm gonna say three key things. A balanced portfolio is important. So regardless of what instruments you're looking around, always, if you really are interested in creating a solid financial foundation, look at the different tools that you have. Is it real estate? Is it the markets and so forth? And build a balanced approach. People who accumulate wealth, like I already said, have balanced portfolios. So look at different ways through which you can spread your money through. Markets could be a part of it. Financial instruments are very different in the US than they are in Canada, but there's some great opportunity for you to shelter some of your taxes to a lot of the instruments that are there. Secondly, can't really speak to the stock market and so forth as right now, because again, it'd be irresponsible to just say anything here and be like, go buy Google. It's not a thing to do. But two things you can look into are ETFs and index funds, because those are pitted and built against some of the markets, and also a pool of just different companies, and they all have a clear strategy and there's a clear risk tolerance. So you can learn through these documents about how they're going to perform, how they performed in the past, and going from there. If you're not trying to go individual stocks and look in the market, look at something that's compound. An index fund had a lot of information between ETFs too. They'll usually be put out by an issuer. Look at the source, read through the documents, read through the fine print. And if this is something you're interested in doing, you want to get into those markets, look at that. Lastly, I think a great thing that's important is having a good support system, to James's point, of people that, if you are going to go in that space, can give you honest advice. Because having been on the other side, you're not always going to get honest advice from a financial institution. And that's the truth. I was there. They're going to tell you what you want to hear. And the markets is always doing great. Your money is always doing great. But really, things are not happening. So having a good support system and really having that knowledge, not be proofread and understand the markets you're operating in, is a big part of it. A small piece of advice I would say I always share to people who want to start a stocks portfolio. There's a really quick trick I learned early on. Buy into companies that you live through and are part of your lifestyle. So, if you love Nikes and you watch a lot of Disney Plus and you kind of mess with Netflix, buy companies from your ecosystem so you have an interest in how you'll see the product and the company evolve. So then you understand how different decisions and how the product and how the company as a whole is operating, how that affects its share price, and start really getting that sense of them being living, breathing entities and how their stock ebbs and flows. It's an easy way to really start dipping your toe. Don't go too hard on building a small portfolio, but buy a couple shares here and there of the companies you embody, start following their news, and start seeing how the stock market fluctuates. And that's an easy way to sort of dip your feet and see if it's something you enjoy. If it's too much for you to keep track of that, don't go into it, because you really have to be invested.
So quick question, Mark, and I'll ask all y'all the quick question. For let's poll all of y'all.
Oh God.
All of you right now have $25,000. Make it 50 if you want. And you had to take that $50,000 to $1 million. What are you doing? All right, you can go first.
Oh, and
You
you.
know, y'all know what my answer is already, right? Because Mark, this is why I'm going to challenge your thinking, right?
Here's
Hold,
what
hold on, let me get the soapbox one more time,
I
so I
got
can
some
challenge.
follow-up questions to that, but we'll go into
Hold on, so now so I can challenge the thinking,
Mhm.
because the goal is for us to talk about, you can't diversify broke, 0 times 0, 0, right? That's I've always grew up on that. So if in life, you ain't getting nowhere if you growing incrementally. Fuck incremental change. It doesn't get you anywhere, right? Only when you're dieting, probably, right? So if you start looking at the idea of diversifying your money, if you're cash flowing your life, right? And you're trying to get from A to B. So I hear you when you say balanced stock portfolio in case, yeah, and I guess this is showing my risk level too, right? So everything I'm saying, the asterisks under that I didn't say before this was, make sure you do your homework on the real estate market that you're in. Make sure you understand what a soul comp is. Make sure you thoroughly understand real estate investing. And we're not going to take in 2 hours. We can't get through that tonight. But yo, read Rich Dad Poor Dad. There's a billion books out there on real estate. Pick them all up. Read as much as you can. Get into some real estate investing groups, and to Mark's point, and some stock investing groups and learn, because you can't just take anything we're saying right now and buy a house that's worth $100,000 and you pay $400,000, and then you start looking for me because you want to kill me.
Start with, like, when you got, be from the gutter, be from the streets, don't have cash, right? You got 10, 15, but shit, I live in New York and I want to start getting in the property game. If you're me, I got 15 racks in the bank. I want to do something, but I live in New York. What do I do?
If I live in New York and I got 15,000 in the bank, I'm Mick. Can somebody pull Mick onto this deal? Somebody pull Mick. Mick is on here, and me and Mick have had these conversations a million times. So I'm about to use Mick as me and Mick have had this conversation over and over again. If I'm
what's his full name?
Mikhail. What's
all right.
Yeah, Mikhail. So if I got 15,000 and I'm New York, right?
Mm-hmm.
The money's in equity. The money's finding a deal. Perfect example. There's a property. Mute for a second, Mick. Or I think that's you. There you go. There's a property that I just bought that's worth $500,000, right? Because I understand the market that I'm in so well, the second the property hit the market, every property that comes on in the market hits my phone. So my phone goes off 80 million times in a day. So I'm looking at everything that hits the market. So as soon as it hit the market, I seen it and was like, hold up, this don't line up. I hit the agent and said, agent, send me soul comps. I had the soul comps in 5 minutes. I look, and this is what I would do if I had 15,000. So the first thing is understand the market in and out. Understand real estate, understand the market in and out. Or to Mark's point, if you're going to work in stocks and you got the information and a little bit of money, be tight, be next to the information. When I got the information and I seen the soul comp, I already knew it was going to be a highest and best. So I put in the money. So if I didn't have 15,000, what I would do, what you also have to do is have connections to capital. Hard money is the easiest way for real estate. I don't know what it is for stocks. I don't know if you can buy stocks with other people.
No, but you're talking about a specific, I'm assuming a specific commercial property that you
I'm talking about residential right now.
Okay, a specific residential property that you felt was under market value, so it would go quick, so you came in with a heavy offer.
Yes, so I came in.
I'm saying, forget that for a second.
No, you saying you got 15,000.
And I'm a patient real estate investor. And so I don't gotta buy in my city, right? What do I do?
Same thing. You still got to look for you have to look for the best deal. If you're patient, you got to wait for the best deal. And I'm giving this as an example. My realtor called me earlier today and said my office is still laughing about the deal. The long of the story is, if you're the investor, you got to stay in contact with capital, right? Hard money lender. Make sure you're approved with your hard money lender. Make sure you're approved with your bank. or make sure you approve with your cousin that got some money, or your homeboy that got some money, or you know how to get to money fast and understand what your benchmarks are, right? If you know you're looking at if you're looking at properties at 50,000, 100,000, 500,000, a million, know what level you're looking at and know what you can close. For me, I knew this deal I could close very easily, so I placed the offer on the deal for 100,000, right? Knowing it was highest and best, I end up getting a property at 120. I'm going to probably put 50 in it, but that's $320,000 in equity. So even if I would have had 5 partners on the deal, depending upon the structure, I would have been smart enough to keep 50% of the deal. So even if I'd have only had 15,000 to contribute to the deal, I would have still made 150,000.
And so the house was foreclosed, I'm assuming?
No, it was an estate property. Someone was older, and no, someone had passed already. It was left into an estate. It was on a street, and the street was in an amazing neighborhood. Older houses. Some of the houses on the street were already going for single family houses were going for between 250 and 300. The duplex, the property that I'm talking about was a duplex. So it was two side by side single family houses basically pushed together as a duplex. So it was the equivalent of getting 2 side by side duplexes, saying both of those is worth 250. I got an appraisal on the place already at 650. 500 is conservative.
Why was it so cheap?
I'm nice at this shit, Ari.
Well, we don't find nothing like this. James, find something like that in New York.
Yeah.
Yo,
There's nothing like that in New York.
So my point is this. Let's step away from real estate, right? Sharifa, you are the best at the trade show business. You own that shit, right? Mm-hmm. But you could also tell me about every fucking trade show in America. On Earth that means anything. You could probably tell me about the newest trade show in South Korea. If Russia's having a trade show, you know about it, right? Mm-hmm. That's the same way. If you're committed, when you start talking about wealth and having a wealth strategy for yourself, you can't just lay there and say, I want to make money. The thing that I skipped part of the early story. When I was 18, 19, 20, I read every book that had anything to do with wealth. I went to any conference that I could go to that was about wealth and about making money. So you gotta get an attitude and do the homework. I think Ari, somebody posted up a quote that Ari said a few free games ago about making sacrifices. Like, yo, I drove an Acura RL until fucking 5 years ago. That's my only car.
It's a nice car.
I was about to say,
yo, shit is
maybe like
look,
hold on, let me slow all y'all down.
Look.
Fucking 1994.
Hold on. Yo, you act like it ain't like James said I drove a Yugo.
No. Let me chime in on that one. That car was a piece of shit.
Ho. Not was, still is a piece of shit because I still own it. That's my soapbox.
Wait, James, I'll ask for like everybody in the group, like name some books that you read so some of these guys can, maybe pick them up.
I think the best 2 books I've ever read in my life was Rich Dad Poor Dad. Hands down, if I've said it a million times, I live by that book. I make my daughter read it 3 times. She asks me what I want for my birthday every year. You know what I tell her? Read Rich Dad Poor Dad. I read it already. Read it again. If that makes sense. The other one is the Entrepreneurial Myth. The Entrepreneurial Myth is probably Principles. Somebody just put Principles by Robert Dalio. Like, yo, when you broke, I don't know if Principles is getting you there. Like Rich Dad Poor Dad is like kindergarten of financial literacy. It takes you, Rich Dad Poor Dad takes you in the first book in 154 pages. That man manages to take you from kindergarten to 12th grade in your thinking. So you can at least walk away from that book And then after that, Sharifa, honestly, it's just about author, subject matter, how deep they go into one part of investing or another in real estate. Because there's tons of different ways to talk about real estate, commercial real estate.
Yeah.
There's an appreciation game. You can buy real estate right now in a really hot market. Think about Jay's comment around Dumbo. If somebody would have brought a place in Dumbo in 95 versus what is that place worth today, right? So if you may just say, hey, I'm going to buy. We tell all of our kids, we tell all of our kids who work in our office, go to the West Side. Kev, who's on our team, bought a lot in the West Side, and the West Side at the time he bought it is rough and still rough. Now houses on that 2 years later, houses in that same area is being listed in the mid 600s, and he paid sub 100 for the lot, and the cost of his house will be sub 400. When he's finished, he'll walk away with a lot of money. If that makes sense. So this is a game that, to Ari's point about the 15,000, if you got 15,000 saved, you in the game. It's just how much are you willing to sacrifice to get there? Like everybody wants to shine, but not a lot of people are willing to have the discipline to do the work that's required to really make money, if that makes sense.
Okay, so on that note, there was a question in the chat a little bit earlier that asked about, or one of the things that they mentioned is that I guess one of the things that's keeping them from getting into real estate is having to deal with the actual property management side of things. So what are you guys' thoughts, since there's been a heavily real estate conversation? Like, there's a lot that comes with, you know what I mean, a property. If that property isn't cash flowing at the time, you now have to effectively pay that mortgage out of your pocket. So you have to have, savings built up to take care of that. If something breaks in that house, you're responsible for fixing it, et cetera, et cetera.
So Dave, that's something smart to talk about, because Jay's been doing this a long time, right? He was in his early 20s and accumulated properties. So like there was cash flow to do fixes and things like that. And James, correct me if I'm wrong. So when you do buy, right, things are going to happen that you don't expect. A pipe's going to freeze and you're going to have to replace it and fix a ceiling. 1 year you can lose money. You buy an old house, I'm going to have to dig up the electric and might cost you your whole year's rent. Mm-hmm. But like the market, you're playing the long game when you're buying investment property. You're still looking at, all right, so 1 year I make 30%, the next year I made 0%, but probably that fix isn't going to need to be fixed again for another 10 years. So You're still playing that long game, but to your point, Dave, you need a buffer. You got to know that things are going to happen.
Hey, wait, hold on. I want to chime into that because you need you need a team.
Shout out to Carla.
You definitely need to have a team. You need to have a strong handyman. You need to have a good lawyer. I had a couple of properties and I didn't do well with it because I wasn't as educated. Right? I bought my first property when I was 23. It was a duplex in VA. But if you don't have that team and you don't have an understanding of what's going on in that house, because some of the stuff I did myself, I know how to put my own sheetrock. I could do light electrical because I was in the military doing electronic stuff. I could do light plumbing, but you have to know how that house operates. You have to, because if you don't, you're going to also get taken. It's about having that knowledge base, not only on how to buy property, but you got to know how to maintain it. You have to also have a good real estate agent that's going to get people in there and vet them for you, because you can't vet them yourself. You don't know how to pull, most of the time, you don't know how to pull credit and what have you.
Pale, can I say one thing to you? And how do you get those? How do you get those things?
I mean, I called James.
Oh.
No.
Well, no, the answer I was looking for was you got to, once again, I'm going to go back to what I said about Sharifa. And I'll say the same thing about Dre, Hutch, Ari, anybody that's good at what they do. When it comes to with the people on this panel or doing their day job, they're the best at it. Like there ain't no, when it comes to, I'm not just on this with him. If I need something, if I want something concerning one of Sharifa's shrimps, I'm going to her like, yo, Sharifa, even though I may be pretty good at it, but I know she's great at it.
Well,
like so
real quick, and you know, not to be, I was being facetious, but in a way, it's about your network. So I would holler at you because I know that you're versed in it. I holler at my man Giz because he's a general contractor. You know, I would holler at these people. I'll holler at my cousins who do construction. I'll holler at my local real estate agent and be like, yo, listen, this is what I'm trying to do. This is what I want to do. Can you tell me something before I actually put my money down into it? Like, I would try to find people who are already doing it, who are willing to give me, 2 cents. And a lot of people, when they're successful, they're willing to give you this free game, just like this right here. They want to help. They want to see success. They want to see people who look like them grow. They want to see young people grow. You just have to ask.
Man, listen. The one thing that I learned, iron sharpens iron, and it's so true. When you see people who are committed to a process, right? You know, eventually, when someone asks you, somebody said this to me earlier today. There's a difference between the person who says, hey, I want to get an hour with you, and they get an hour with you and they have no questions prepared. They have nothing in their hour. They just get there and they're just happy they got you on the phone and don't really got much to talk about. Then there's the person who gets an hour with you, who sends you 50 questions before you speak to them because they know they can't get through all 50. So they want you to read the 50 so you can have in mind everything they want to talk about. So then they can use your time and use you to help them. When that happens and I get that kid, I'm already like, oh yeah, this kid is on his shit. He not only prepped, he or she not only prepped, they sent me 50 or 60. They sent me all the work they had ahead of it. They put my mind into their world for their call. So when they got me for an hour, they truly used my mind for their purpose. That's the kid that I'm willing to invest more time in because I want that kid as part of my network because that kid can end up being fucking Barack Obama or Elon Musk or whoever else, if that makes sense. There's some selfishness in this too. I want to be around great people.
For sure. And with that, I'm gonna pivot into a question that kind of can't flow through the chat because a lot of times greatness comes from making mistakes and learning from those mistakes. So Chantel, our good friend Chantel down in Houston, asked us. She wants to know one financial mistake that everyone has made, and I guess we could talk about the lesson that you might have learned from it.
I'll jump first. I was that kid that James talked about that made $30,000 and spent all his money on things that he doesn't own anymore. Like never putting anything away, never listening, and being a byproduct of having a brain trust around of people like Ari, Dre, Sharif, it's glad to meet you, but James learning and picking up game along the years, doing exactly that. You're not your start. Like there's always time to switch. Again, there's always time to be able to make that change. But the worst decision I made is just being that person that, again, you can't diversify broke, right? James, like it's just how it be. And, that was not listening to people around and having a bad start, but being able to pick yourself up from there and learning the small pieces of game that you can apply, knowing what, again, I talk about risk a lot, but that was the big thing I was able to take. You distill the information that you get from James and be like, okay, what kind of risk am I willing to take? And build from there and then starting to sacrifice. I always ask, what sacrifice are you willing to make? And you got to start from somewhere. You got to realize, you got to be honest with yourself, what your situation is, and start out from there.
But Mark, I'm going to challenge you on that and make you go again because we all fucked up money. Yo, in the beginning, come on, man. No, I don't know, other than my cousin Tanisha, I don't know a person who just took all the advice in the beginning and didn't blow through money. I had to realize that I done the same thing as you. I just had the privilege of doing it very young, if that makes sense, and then learning and pivoting really quick. So we gonna come back to you, but I need to know what that mistake was.
No, I can. I feel comfortable talking about it. And again, very grateful. I met all of you at a very young age, which is kind of funny because we're talking about age earlier. James is like to think about when I met Dre and Art and just being a fly on the wall of the foundation, it's kind of funny even being here. But I will say the key mistake I made, I'm a stock market person, if it's not clear at this point. But the key mistake I made was get rid of Apple very, very early. I held a lot of Apple through my years in banking. And as I left, and again, I made that decision because I was sacrificing, I was taking a huge step. I was leaving the banking world to bet on myself, and literally went from making quite a bit to going into a Nike store and making $12 an hour because I wanted to start carving my path that way. I parted with it because that was a decision I had to make to have the cash on hand to chase what I wanted to do, which again is worthwhile. You have to know what you're doing. But I may have wanted to hold on to a little bit of it instead of letting it all go.
All right, go ahead. I'm sorry, Mark.
No, but that's really it. So play the long game. If you're gonna be in the stock market, this is all I'm gonna say. Play the long game. Just like real estate, don't look at weed stocks thinking the election's coming and legalization's the next day, so it's gonna do, you know, canopy growth or Aurora, it's gonna go 5x the next day. Don't play that. It works once in a blue moon. A bull market is always out there. I mean, again, like I like to talk about the stocks market because that's where I was best versed in, but play the long game in the stock market. If that's where you're going to be, take your time. Believe in Apple long-term, believe in Tesla. You may want to jump to Tesla now, but if you don't think it's gonna keep going, don't get in there. But you gotta be patient with it. So
Dre?
Man, shoot. Shit, I still make mistakes all the time. My partners will tell you now.
Your partners are sitting there looking at you.
Yeah, look, man. And nah, you know what it is? I'm not risk adverse at all. Look, Ari probably smiling over there. So it's like
Where's Ari's face at?
Nah, but you know what it is? Because we still make
risk aversion.
We still make mistakes now. We take shots. Like we started a marketing company one time, lost a few $100,000. But when I first moved to New York, me, Hutch, and Pell had a brand, but I don't consider those mistakes. I consider them learning experiences. Hell, beginning of this year, we were going into a partnership with a brand, and the joint blew up in our face in 6 weeks, and we lost a few $100,000. So it's like, and you know, and then you got to recover. But I consider myself like a home run hitter, man. You know, and I'm gonna hit more out of the park than I'm gonna hit strikeout. So it's just the way I'm built. You know what I'm saying? And it's like obviously the calculated risk that we take in business. But you know, if I look at the history of the company that me and my partners have built, we didn't hit a lot of home runs. And we're solid, right? As a company, you know, you look at what's going on out in the world today. You know, I'll knock on wood because I know my partners are knocking on woods. We've been able to get through this, keep our team intact. Our business is good, and we're gonna move on. So although we take risk and we will swing sometimes for the fences, we have a solid foundation to our business, no pun intended. And that solid foundation allows us to take those risks. But, you know, you have to take shots. I mean, so when I don't know what the biggest mistake is. I'm sure Ari may have some ideas of what he thinks some of the biggest ones are.
Mistakes and personal mistakes are different. I think like you can read all the books you want about business, and to a certain extent, you can read all the books you want about real estate. You can read all the books you want around the stock market. But until you're doing the shit and your money's at play, that's when you really learn. Because all the books and watching other people do it, I watched James do the housing thing for 10 years in my ear every month that I should buy one. And then I finally bought one. And the first year and a half, I made 40 mistakes. But, you know, now that's 6 years away and it's fluid and it's solid and I have hiccups and we talk and, you know, I move through it. I would say as a young person, my first job was a Polo jeans company and I wanted to leave. And I like moved back to Philadelphia and started bartending. And I had a $3,000 401k at Polo jeans and I cashed it and went and used it for a down payment on a car. And that 3Gs would probably be like $50,000 right now. So it was like my own impatience and stupidity that needed a new car as opposed to like whatever car I drove in high school that was still in the driveway. But in business and like in age, like I started when I first got on, like I'm learning every day. I'm taking notes just like some of you guys are while people are talking. I call James still to discuss real estate things that I don't plan to do for 6 months, 8 months, 10 months, because I'm curious to like what he thinks and how he moves. I do the same thing with Dre. I do the same thing with bruh. Yo, 6 months from now, 8 months from now, maybe we should together.
Bruh is not Hutch's name, man. That man's name is Antoine.
Stop snitching, James. Stop snitching.
I got called out for a snitch last time, so I don't want to note about that. But to me, the mistakes are going to come. Even when the money's there, the mistakes are going to come. Mm-hmm. It's just you got more of it and more cash flow, so you can move through the mistakes more easily. I'm sure James still makes some mistakes, you know.
I could give y'all mines. I'm gonna let Sharifa go first, though. Sharifa.
I mean, I think when I was younger, I just spent, and I still spend money on dumb shit that I ain't got no business spending on. I get really obsessed over things, and I would, if I'm buying workout equipment, I'm buying all the workout equipment. You should see my house right now. It looks crazy. I'm like obsessive compulsive, but I was obsessed with the apartment next door, and I just had to have it. My husband told me don't buy it. Everybody was like, don't buy that apartment. And I'm gonna tell you, I swear to God, I wish I listened to them, because I mean, listen, it's not a horrible mistake, but it is going to take a while to recoup. I bought the apartment and now I'm sitting on it empty.
Yeah, that's COVID. You didn't know that. That's like a one.
I know, but I shouldn't have bought it.
It's like the best investment ever.
No, but I shouldn't have bought it. I should have just waited and chilled the hell out, because it's not like I'm not going to use it. I'm not expanding my apartment like I wanted to. So that's a mistake for me.
It's a mistake now.
It's a mistake now that maybe in a couple of years will be a very good thing.
Exactly. Mine's is twofold. It's the same thing. One's an easy cop out. One is I was very anxious to buy Tesla stock in March when it was in the 300s. And all you guys know, I'm not a stock guy. So finally, like, it's based on what my situation is today, I need to start investing in some stocks. So I needed to, just like I'm saying, I was being thorough and understanding all the things that I need to do. And we've had conversations about banking relationships. I think anybody who's been on these calls know I didn't have like really good banking relationships. So finally, I got a banker that I love, and me being a loyal person, I invested. I signed up with the investment company for that bank because, letting them rep they set, letting them have a piece of my business. So one of my first actions was telling him like, yo, I need you to go, and I'm gonna tell y'all can joke whatever y'all want. So I said, I'm gonna need you to go get 1,000 shares of Tesla at the open price. He was like, no, I don't think Tesla's a good bet. $300. It's volatile. Don't do it. And this is me. I'm trying to be respectful of this man. To Mark's earlier point, be confident in what you know. I done the work on what I know. So I was confident on what I knew, but I let him talk me out of what I knew, right? And that $300,000 that I wanted to invest in March would have been worth what today?
Like 1.2.
No, you doing bad math, brother. That stock was at 2,000 before.
The stock was at 2,000.
Oh, you're right, but it went to a 5-to-1 split. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, so that would now be at over 2 million. So
did you buy one?
So, bang on James's point and go to Mark. When Mark said you start investing in stocks, what did Mark say? He said invest in the shit you're close to. James, what do you drive?
Tesla.
Right. The very first stock I ever bought outside of a 401k or some shit like that, the very first security I ever bought when we started our company, I was all IBM and BlackBerry. Dre and Daniel forced me into a Mac and an iPhone, and I hated it. But 2 months in, it's like how you ever used a PC or a BlackBerry, you don't know. So I bought Apple. I don't know, Jay, we were like 27.
Oh, yeah, we bought it.
Apple when I was like 27, and I didn't have dick. Like, I had no money. So maybe I bought 3,000. And then the next year I bought another 3 and another 3. And when it split and doubled and da-da-da, I just kept buying it. Even I bought a couple hundred shares last week when it dipped.
All right, it was $69.
Yeah, it was $69.
I remember when y'all bought those shares at $69, and I was like,
$69.
No, one of the second I bought was Facebook, and it went like this, and I never let it go. Dre got out, my other friends got out. I'm just like, nah, I use it every day.
Ari, can I say something right now, real quick, and just jump in?
Oh my God.
You letting us know how much money you got right now, too.
I bought a shit ton of Tesla, too.
we counting over here, too.
My point is Mark is right, but it doesn't, like, I bought Tesla. I took a bath. I got out of it. Or not Tesla. I bought Uber. I took a bath. I got out of it, and I bought Tesla instead because, like, you're going to make mistakes even when you buy things that you're close to. But to James's point that was initially brought up by Mark, if you're starting small and you just want to get in a way, think about being a consumer. Think about the brands and the companies that you interact with. Is their service good? Do you see something? Like, are you a tech guru like my brother-in-law who was talking about PayPal and all that crap 10 years ago when I wasn't even using it? So, like, stay close to the things that are close to you and the services they provide you. And, like, more times than not, that's going to lead you somewhere positive.
But I also want to say one thing on the phone, like, for everybody, because, like, maybe people can't buy hundreds and hundreds of shares in these different things. Buy one, buy two.
I bought 3 shares of Tesla, Sharifa. 3.
No, I know. I'm just saying because, you know, I don't know.
Sharifa, my ass didn't buy none.
Well, I bought, no, someone is crazy. Someone gifted me a share of Tesla. When I hired them, they gave me that as a gift. And I was like, what? And then that's when I started buying it. So, and I'm an idiot because I should have bought it when I got the goddamn car too, James. But I'm just saying, I think it's important.
Wait, saying I'm rich and both y'all drive Teslas?
Wow. We drive it, you own it.
But then, but also,
I think it's important for everyone on the phone on this call to know it's like you can start small. I don't want everybody to just think that, you know, you got to buy 25 shares. Buy 1, buy 2, buy 3, and week by week you'll see it go up. And I just wanted to say that.
Agree.
One more mistake. There's a very interesting story. So if somebody got to say, this will take about 3 minutes, and y'all gonna get a hell of a laugh out of it too. So I'll go. Go ahead. Somebody about to say something.
And after that, we'll pivot into Sharifa's point. I want to get you guys' opinions because somebody asked in the chat earlier as well in terms of starting small. Just to get your thoughts on the little kind of apps that are popping up now, like Acorns, Robinhood, et cetera, et cetera. But go ahead with your story, James, and then we'll talk about
this. This is the good start small. And Hutch is gonna remember this conversation, right? I'm gonna set the stage. It's 2007. When the recession was really happening. Everybody talk about 08, but if you was in business on the back half of 07, you was actually feeling everything that people said was happening in 08, right?
Yep. We started, yes.
So it's 2007, and there's this company that we all know and love that's just fucking me, like giving me no love, giving me shit product, treat me like I'm a damn nobody. Hutch,
I remember this.
Hutch, what company was it, Hutch?
Nike.
I pick up the phone and call Hutch, frustrated as fuck. Hutch, man, I'm sitting here. I'm running my business. Everything is going right. But these fucking Nike invoices keep coming in and draining all my money. And they keep giving me this bullshit product, and I can't do nothing with it. I'm closing this account. Hutch, what do you say?
I told you there's a lot of accounts that you can close, but that ain't one of them.
I was so upset that day. Like, literally, this conversation probably turned into a 4 or 5 hour conversation. Conversation goes like, damn. It goes from how can I get them to stop dragging me? Like, what do I need to do to get them to stop dragging me? Not closing that account on that day in 07 is probably one of the best mistakes I've ever avoided. And to the point of having someone around you, because I was definitely going to close that account because the $40,000 they wanted me to send them, I probably had like $47,000 in the business account, and they wanted 40 of it for product that wasn't selling. And I was like, And it's probably the best $40,000 I ever spent in my life. But yeah, that's one we can go into a little more later. Let's pivot. Let's pivot, Dave.
Got you. Starting small. Thoughts on Acorns, Robinhood, et cetera. These apps that kind of take your change and round up, toss it in the stock market, et cetera, et cetera. Maybe I'll lob it to Mark first, since he's kind of our resident stock guy.
I won't take that title. One thing I will say just very quickly, based on what they all said, is an easy way to look at the market is consider the market to be moody. So based on how you feel on different companies, like it's gonna probably shift the same way. So it's sort of how I always say, I just write that, like, consider the market to be moody. So how you feel about different companies always shift. Being in Canada, there are not a lot of apps, so I'm not really familiar with the apps in the US. It's very regulated in Canada, so you kind of need to go through your bank to be able to trade in so many different platforms. I mainly use my banking platform to do that, so I can't really speak to the apps. What I will say is always look at the fees. Look at the fees, look at the instruments, look how they're structured. Well, simple, just, there are a lot of apps that are out there. I don't particularly use them. I always look at fees. I always look at what point on each trade, what is my broker taking? How does the instrument pay out? And just different pieces of the instrument that you want to go into. If you're buying, 5 shares, at what threshold do you start paying a higher fee or not, right? So just pay attention to those. Sadly, in Canada, again, very safe market, James, not aggressive, it's a very safe market. We got 5 banks, things are stable. So you got to go through your banks here. So the apps aren't really as widespread, but we'd love to hear if anybody's using the apps right now, what the experiences are. I know a couple of homies use Robinhood down there, but I can't speak to those. Yeah, I can't.
No, I think personally, I don't use them, but I think personally, anything that's getting you to save is amazing. And any way that you can invest your money is amazing. I just think that there's just think of the stock market also like the casino. If you're an uninformed investor and you're not doing the work to understand what you're investing in, it's as risky as gambling. Like, you can't just go buy a stock because your homeboy said he threw some money in it and mindlessly and it just happened to go up. That's just like go throw your money on a hard 8 at the casino.
This is the best analogy I was ever given. Consider the stock market a well. You will never take your bucket and put it in the bottom of a well and not know what's going to come out. So before you step up to a well, really just lower your butt. Like, you got to know what's in it. You got to know what you're getting out of it. Is it water? Is it sand? Is it mud? However, whatever you're comfortable with, you got to go there knowing what's at the bottom. Because when you drop a bucket in the well, you don't see the bottom. So you got to be able to know what's there. And if that's really what you want to be into. It's trust and it's knowledge, and brain trust is a very big thing, because to James's point, I cannot believe that Tesla thing happened.
I can, and did it happen to Zoom too, and we on Zoom.
Why don't you ask me? Why don't you ask me, James?
Yeah.
Man, Mark, I ain't know you was a stock guru. You've been hiding all this information from me, man. Our friendship is over.
Boys is saying nothing to you, huh? Like, God. Well, you got to blame Kev for that. Kev is getting a lot of flack on this call today. I just got to say.
But there's a lot of things out there. It goes back to what Ari was saying earlier and what other people have echoed on here. You go with the things that you know and you use. Like, we're in the business. We know Shopify is driving the world. Shopify is going up. Hell, we sell the headphones to Peloton. The reality is, and it's a damn shame, we sell the headphones to Peloton. And I personally don't own any Peloton stock. And I know how many damn headphones we were selling. I'm looking like a damn fool right now because they buying so many headphones and I didn't buy any of the stock. Ari and I.
On at 1,000 because I'm like, the shit's 1,000. Now it's 3,000.
Yeah. We bought Netflix back in the day. But I tell you one of the funny ones. I will tell you a story, a real quick one. We invested in a cannabis company, right? That sold. And, anybody that knows about the cannabis stocks, they're all basically Canadian companies. The U.S., because it's not federally legal here, you can't really buy or trade. They're all Canadian companies, right?
Asking who you were in?
Huh?
Do you mind me asking who you were in?
No, well, we still have it. So we invested in a company called Bebo a few years back. And Bebo got bought by Green Thumb. Okay. It's actually one of the best investments we ever made. Because we bought, we invested not a whole lot of money, but we invested. I'll say what it was. There was 4 of us. We invested. Okay, so we invested the money.
Yeah, stop snitching, man.
I'm not. All right. So we invested the money, and the company sold, and the company sold for a lot of money, like a lot of money. But we had a very small piece. But what was interesting about it was it converted into stock into Green Thumb. Green Thumb Industries is one of the larger cannabis companies in Canada. And when COVID hit and the whole stock market started tumbling, and the vape situation, all the cannabis stocks tumbled. And Ari and I kept looking at this thing. At one point, you know, it was trading at like $11.50. It dropped down to $4. Me and Ari were looking at it every day. We're like, yo, we should buy some more of this. We should buy some more of this. Damn it, that thing hasn't gone all the way back up. It was at like $16 the other day. And that's one of the things too, is because when it comes to the stock market, there's always the woulda, coulda, shoulda moment. There's so many woulda, coulda, shoulda moments that happen all the time.
I want to make 2 points off Dre's commentary, right?
First, let us hold something. Can we get a foundation trading grant?
First of all, it's like a lot of money.
Foundation.
What is a lot of money to
Can
me?
Can we buy stock and foundation?
To you.
Can we buy stock?
All right. We want to talk about being able to invest in the foundation at this point. Me and Sharifa, please.
Listen, I want to talk about what Dre's talking about, because 4 years ago, to Mark's point, right, cannabis was the buzzword, and Cali, you know, is minting millionaires overnight, and every celebrity you could think of, from, you know, Burner to Snoop Dogg to Scooter Braun, is investing in cannabis companies, right? And it's the wave, and guys are selling their licenses for millions of dollars, and it's all we're hearing. Right, both gray market and, you know, in the quote unquote legit market. So we had someone from our industry, a close friend of mine that my partners have all known for years, who had a very close friend of his from our industry, a VP, a marketing guy, a press guy, who just happened to be like an old school North Bay stoner who presented like a suit, who was lightning ass sharp. So when we met him, he gave us a number on the minimum investment, and all of us wanted to learn about the industry. None of us wanted to spend that kind of money to learn about the industry. So the 4 of us said, you know what, if we take this investment, we chop it in 4, and we all lose, we can live with that. But if I can't lose 4 times what I'm about to invest, because that I won't be able to live with. And this was our way of putting enough money at risk that we were willing to lose it to learn about the industry in totality. And it taught us a lot about the industry, both the good and the bad, the volatility and the stillness. But it was, again, about the relationships we had around us that even brought that opportunity to us, that allowed us to do it. Second part, there were 4 of us involved in that investment. One, not one of our partners, my friend that brought us in. This is why it's a long game. Mm-hmm. He wanted to move and make a big life shift that costed money that was probably outside of where he should be living.
How much was
financially? He sold those shares, got out, paid the government capital gains, took his difference, got his family out here. That shit is worth 1.5 times what it was the day he sold it 10 months ago. He has texted me 15 times in the last month and a half, like, I can't believe I got rid of that. When he went to sell it, I said, don't do it. That shit spikes, you're gonna kill yourself. That shit goes down 25%, okay, you didn't make as much. But that shit goes through the roof, you're gonna be looking over your shoulder forever, regretting it. So like, also when you make the life decisions, like, understand that those shares, that's long-term value. That's how you need to look at these things. Mm-hmm. Our friend thought about it as a short-term game, and within 6 months is pissed.
Well, is you gonna let me and Sharifa get in though? That was a good story, but me
and
Sharifa,
if I get on the planet, you can get in on that. So I guess that's my point. It's twofold. It's learn from those around you, be around people you trust. Like dead ass, if I have a real estate question, I'm calling James. There's no question about it. Whether it's a house I want to live in or one I want to invest in. James called me earlier this week about a strategy thing and something involving licensing that he knows a ton about, but he just felt that I knew more about it. So like Hell says it all the time. Your network is your net worth. That shit is the truth. We all speak to each other and utilize each other. I talk to Dre all the time. We're business partners about things that have nothing to do with our actual business, just ideas and other things that we want to work on. So keep picking up those phones, keep DMing, keep reading the books, keep surrounding yourself by people that you can bounce things off of and soak up game from. Because like none of us here, as successful as the perception of all of us on this panel may be, we all still are utilizing a million other people to achieve everything we're achieving.
Somebody I respect told me when I was trying to make it. It's you gotta find your way to surround yourself by people who are there, because if you manage to get in a network of people who are there and you're not there, it's going to be very easy for you to. If you surround yourself by six millionaires, is anyone going to be shocked when you're the seventh? If you surround yourself by six anything, it'll be very easy for you to be the seven, just for everything that already just said.
Get comfortable being uncomfortable, right? Because with changing your surroundings, you lose your comfort level. So get comfortable being uncomfortable, because that's the only way to like learn and expand and grow.
All right, we skipped my question earlier, Dave. Man, I'm bringing it back. This is going to help us round this thing out. Dave, you ready, Dave?
Yeah, no, for sure.
You got $50,000. What you doing with it? We going down this panel, man.
Hey, what I'm doing with 50,000?
I need to know how to get there. You got $50,000, and you got a year to get to $1 million.
A year.
If you get to $1 million, it doubles. If you don't, you lose it all. Where you going with it?
Man, I'm not even that. That's why I'm sitting here asking the questions. I'm not that keen on even investment. If I get a lump sum, the first thing I'm thinking about is debt elimination. So like I'm trying to get rid of student loans. That'll about knock out my student loans. But I don't even know if that's the wisest decision.
There's no bad answer right now, because this is we're just gonna talk and have conversation.
Nah, for sure. So I mean, that would about take care of my student loan. So I would get rid of my student loan debt.
Okay.
And that may not necessarily. Well, actually, I mean, it does. It opens up your cash flow, right? So you go from paying on it month to month. You can use that cash flow to do something else with it. So there's an opportunity, like a trade off there potentially. So maybe what I invest in with my extra cash flow gets me to $1 million.
Okay.
I don't know.
Dre?
50,000, and you said I got a year to get it to $1 million?
Yeah, here, I'll make it easier. Everybody got 3 years. A year is short. I give you 3 years. Does your answer change with 3 years, Dave?
Nah, not off top. Not off top.
Okay. Dre?
I mean, do I do today with 50 grand to get to $1 million in 3 years? Well, I can tell you what I do. I got to put it in what I do, because I can turn 50 grand into $1 million in 3 years.
Take 4 minutes to tell me how you do that. This is about money. So how do you take the 50 and turn it into $1 million in 3 years? Tell me what you do.
Invest it in product and flip the product. And invest in more product and flip the product.
Okay.
Also, take the $50,000, use it as leverage so you can secure some credit, and the credit will allow you to get more product.
Check.
But 50,000 can be turned into $1 million in 3 years. That it can happen. Another way to do it, and I know what you're gonna get at, is invest in real estate.
No. We all know this is gonna be a unique question.
No, but I'm saying
we all have different skill sets. So because of our skill sets, we're gonna get different answers.
For us, in our particular business, we can turn $50,000 into $1 million in 3 years. We do it now, so that definitely can be done.
Sharifa,
but we got to stick to what we know.
Sharifa, we need to get in that business.
For real, obviously. I mean, I think I would buy a bunch of houses upstate and flip those, to be honest with you.
I'm with you.
Everybody's moving out of New York. I will find everything outside of New York and put people in those houses.
Mm-hmm.
Ari?
I'm with Sharifa. I'd go find $500,000 homes and put 10% down on 5 homes I knew I could churn renters out in areas I felt were on the rise, like Hudson Valley or the Catskills or the beach communities I grew up in, where like everyone in Philly is just dying to get down there now because they can't be in their houses anymore in the city.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's short-term pop.
Mark?
I think the first thing I do is call you.
I appreciate that, brother.
Real estate. We just have a conversation. I just came up on this money, James. What do I do? I call you for literally from hello to life decisions. So, that would go there. But I think I would tell you that I would take a part of it. If we're looking at 3 years, there are a lot of industries that are about to shift. And I take a part of it to start a small business that will answer some of the problems created by COVID and the adjustments for it. Whether it's a small facility, looking at getting some financing for a small facility that makes masks and start really building partnerships to like sell masks at a wide scale. Just look at a COVID adjustment, world adjustment sort of business. And I would go really low risk with it, have a low investment, definitely would leverage more into the real estate, and that would be my main focus. But I would take a shot. If I am to take a shot, same way Dre said, like my shot would be to look at a COVID response related piece of the industry, particularly how space is going to have to change. Because we're really going to have, regards to a vaccine, we're really going to have to start rethinking how commercial development, interior design, and so forth are going to go through. Mask is so facet of it, but a lot of businesses are reshifting, providing new services. So just looking at it, is it plexiglass, right? Do I start really looking into like the supply of plexiglass period and a smaller sort of business from there? I saw someone say 10K parlay in Vegas. I'm not a gambler, so it takes my money every day on FanDuel. But I look at that, definitely leverage more into real estate, because I've told you many times I got to start doing there. And, even being up in Canada, I got to start looking down at the US. And a small facet of COVID response, just how the new world order is going to operate. There's some great opportunities there. Just doing my research, asking the right questions for people who are in the space, and finding a small investment, try to get the Foxconn, trying to get into something really small when they shift that production from just Apple screens to all the screens. Who is on that verge, and just get a little bit in there and see if I can have a bit of a home run, or at least a big win there. So.
Bruh, what you doing, bruh?
Well, I kind of lean with Dre. I'm gonna go with what we know. So I got 3 modes, right? We're gonna buy product and flip product. I'm gonna stay in what I know. That's number 1. 2, I'm gonna borrow $1 million from you, and then in 3 years, I'm gonna use that money to make another $1 million, and I'm gonna give you your $1 million back. 3, I'm gonna start an OnlyFans page. I knew it was coming. It's always Chippendale or OnlyFans or something. I knew something was coming from this
I thought
bro.
the shot was borrowed $1 million. I was like, okay.
Hey, look, hey, Dave, don't be jealous of me because I got something to offer that you don't.
Hutch, we got to also open cheeks. Hutch.
Oh, I'm so mad at you about cheeks. I'm not going into that. I'm upset.
Hey,
with
look.
you.
Hutch, the only thing, Hutch, with the way you be hiding, man, the only thing OnlyFans you be able to do is you have to do some Quiet Storm voiceover type shit. That's the only thing.
Hey, that's the mystery though, Dave.
All right, yo.
Pale, hold on. Let's get Pale.
Pale.
Let's get Pale. We forgot Pale.
If it's 23-year-old Pell, I'd go hard in real estate. I mean, I touched on it in the beginning. Didn't really know what I was doing, but the market was very open down in VA. Actually, Dre's mom also was like giving me some game on it as well. But now I'd invest in myself, just on my skill set, what I know, and the network that I have. I would pull into people that are on the call as far as this is the product that I'm looking to do, because I know that I could cut costs as far as like prototyping stuff myself, designing myself. I'm able to do all of that stuff. Familiar with manufacturing overseas, and I'd be like, yo, this is what I'm looking to do. But before I spent any money, I would just put all of it on paper and be like, what are your thoughts? This is what I think that it is. This is my target market. And that's what I would do. And I keep on flipping that.
Okay, Dave, thank you everybody for your answers. And Hutch, I would give you the money. I would just borrow it from Ari, so we'd be fine.
I was gonna say, man, we moving into like the last 15 minutes. So if anybody has any,
I want to know what James would do with his
questions. Oh yeah, we ain't even let you. Yeah,
he
man.
didn't answer his own damn question.
Before he answers though, I'm gonna put this out here so we can get the questions rolling in the chat. If you have any questions that you have for the panelists, we want to unmute a couple people, bring them up on the screen, let them ask their questions. So drop those, send those to me. I'm on the host, and I'll field them. And if we got some good ones, I'll go ahead and it can be about anything. It doesn't have to be about money. It can be about retail. It can be about sneakers. It can be about fashion. It can be about health and fitness, whatever you want, mental health. This is just a part where we kind of open it up a little bit, get some folks up here and get some other information flowing. So as James is getting ready to let us know his answer, if you guys got any questions, we'll field those. And if nobody has anything, we'll go ahead and round it out.
I think it's a couple different answers, because we heard a lot of things today, right? It's all about understanding the market we're in and understanding opportunity. When the market tanked in March, I've never been so excited in my life, because there was opportunity to get in the market and to make money. So if you would have invested in, there's probably, Mark, how many stocks could someone had bought on? I mean, you probably don't know the answer. There's a lot of stocks that someone could have bought on the 23rd of March, and today they'd be a millionaire if they placed that $50,000 the right way, just because the swing between 18,000 and 30 was broad and wild, and a lot of people made a lot of money, right? Obviously, you can't time the market, so you can't say that's one thing. I think I would probably flip 10 houses. I think somebody said it earlier. I would look to a marketplace that I could go in and get some good turns in, and take to 50 with a hard money company. If I had 50, they would probably be willing to give me at least double it. So if I had 100 or 150, and my goal would be to just flip houses until I got there. And I think in 3 years, based on where the world is today, you could get well over $3 million if you're focused and disciplined on diligently saving your money and doing the right things. Very, very easy to get there.
Word up. So we got a few questions rolling in. I'm gonna start with Rico's question. It's specifically off of a question that Dre had. So let me find Rico and get him up here. It's in the chat, but we can get Rico up here so he can ask it real quick. Oh, he says it will start video later. I don't know if we want to. We was trying to get to make it interactive. Cool. We'll roll on to somebody else then. We'll go with Vincent's question that's in the chat. I'm not really sure what he means by it, but we'll see if it gets. Yeah.
Hey, can y'all hear me?
Yes. What's good with you, bro?
Not much. So a friend of mine and I are working on essentially an optimization engine. So creating a valuation model on sneakers, and want to grow it to streetwear as well. And one of the things that we were trying to do was create partnerships with boutiques to be able to test out the software to help improve our model, but also help the businesses as well. And I want to know, what's the best way about going about creating these partnerships so the businesses are interested in actually working with somebody who's just two people basically creating software out of a garage, essentially.
You gotta if you're
software.
Yeah. You got the software?
Can you say it one more time?
Can you share the software on your screen?
I don't have it on up right this second, but we do have the software. Yeah.
Well, can you say what it is? Because I saw your question in the chat. It says retail optimization, but it's still very vague what the particular software is.
So basically, right now we're working on is evaluation software. So we're taking sales history from multiple sources of a product, and we're creating evaluation based on external sources to dictate what the actual resale value is of a product. We can also, in turn, for the business, help them optimize based upon their inventory of, hey, you should probably mark down this inventory because the value of this sneaker is less than what you're selling it for retail. So it makes more sense for you to go ahead and do a markdown or a promotion so you just get it out so that you can open up inventory to buy something else. So it's double-sided. It's a benefit for us, but we also can help retail as well with our software.
How do you make money on the software? By selling it in or on a transactional basis?
So we will make it through partnerships with other platforms. So like, for instance, I'm working with this sneaker trading platform. It's a startup. And essentially what we want to do is create a partnership where they will leverage our sneaker evaluation software to evaluate trades to make sure the trade are equal, and if not, be able to compensate in such way.
How does your application for value differ from the ticker on StockX?
So StockX is primarily based off their own sales history. Ours is based off sales history from all the major players as well as local boutiques. And we're also looking at getting data from resellers as well.
Right, but the tool sounds like a reseller's tool, because I would imagine, I'm not a retailer, but I would imagine the last thing in the world I want as a retailer is something that's going to tell me I should charge less. Right? Like if I think I can get this Bape hoodie out the door at 500, but the market analyzation is telling me somewhere it's 440, but I know I got a kid walking in my door that's going to pay $5. Like, I'm just trying to understand how to
and hell, Bape wouldn't even allow you to make the markdown.
Well, forget all that for a second. It's like, if you, James, do you have a system or a planner or someone in your company that looks at like life cycle of product and you know when to mark down?
Yes.
Do most major retailers have a planning mechanism that looks at life cycle margin expectations? But the guy's in the store, he looks at the wall, he's like, shit, that shoe's been sitting there 6 weeks, it ain't moving, I got to take the hit.
Well, what I think the thing is, the smart, if he's saying that he can create, what's your name again, bro? Excuse me.
Vincent, yeah.
Which Vincent?
Yep.
Are you saying that your software will do automated markdowns?
Yeah. So essentially what we're trying to do is predict when you should mark down or do a promotion in order to keep your margin. So if you wait 3 months and be like, okay, this thing hasn't been sold for 3 months, what you can get for it is a lot less than had you marked it down earlier in the life cycle of the product.
That if you could execute that, listen, most retailers are too busy running everything else to figure out how to have a real markdown cadence. It took us years to have a formulated markdown cadence, and most out of the box POS systems for our size retail sucks. So if you could create the advice I would give you is don't just create something to mark down. Create a whole POS system around the idea of what you said, then sell it to small businesses. Because then you can get the data just by selling it, just by signing them up on, instead of selling them the service. Make a web-based product where you could charge them monthly and keep updating your system. Because then you could put a bunch of add-ons to it, and then you can really start generating data if they allow you, if the stores are willing to participate in sharing all their information, if that makes sense.
Okay, that makes sense.
Hey, Vincent, I have a question for you. Where did you come up with this idea from?
So I actually work in the retail space. So I guess full class. So I currently work for Nike, and I work in the retail space. So it's something similar as far as what they're working on, as far as optimizing price through the life cycle of product. So I was thinking about revamping that for a different use case.
So wait, so what? How did you come to your pain point that you're solving for the retailer and the actual gain that you're giving them? Like, have you spoken to retailers about this before you started putting it together to find out if there is a real pain point for them?
So the original intent behind it wasn't for retailers. Right now, we're looking to revamp it for retailers. So that's something that I've been doing, is reaching out to retailers and boutiques to get insight if this is what would be useful for them or what they would tweak. But the issue that I'm having is I'm not really getting much feedback. Like, I've been cold emailing and cold calling, things of that nature, just not getting responses. So I was trying to figure out how to go about having those conversations.
Oh, no, to get one with a retailer, bro, I would just say present yourself. That the POS market for small businesses is horrible. I mean, horrible. The fact, I've said it for 15 years. The fact that no one's entered that space with something that people can actually like go on and really like get the proper matrix in their business and really run a tight business. There's no POS system that exists for someone to really run a sharp business. So if you built in here, send us a note and we could take a quick meeting with you. Dave on our team would love to talk POS pain point.
Hold on. I want to finish with him, because when you go speak to people, don't lead with your product. Find out what their real pain points are. Don't tell them about your solution, because you don't want them to be evaluating what you're bringing to the table. You want them to tell you what their real headaches are. Because if you tell them that you got this thing that's going to discount what have you, they're going to look at that pain point and they're going to talk to only that, where there may be something that's bigger in the market that you can actually attack by tweaking what you already have a bit. You always have to be ready to pivot and shift when you're starting out in the beginning. You got to find out what your MVP is, your minimum value proposition is. And you don't come up with that, they come up with that.
Okay. Yeah, and there's people who's hitting you in the chat too. A couple people are volunteering to throw themselves out there and work with you. And like I said, this is a conversation that very easy for us to speak to. And if you want to set the time up, I don't know. I seen Dave Patterson on the chat. Dave, you around here somewhere? If not, bro, just hit us up by email and we'll set up time with somebody on our team to talk through it. At least take 30 minutes to talk through it, because it truly is. It's a huge pain point, not a small one.
It is, but it's also like, I don't know how to say this politely. A lot of retailers aren't good at that part of their business, right? Because they don't focus on that part of their business. They're like, shit, I got enough money in the register to pay the bills, put some cash in my pocket, drive a Mercedes, and live in a nice house. So like the math game and the analyst game is like where the department stores waste and spend tons of money, right? Because they don't get the margin and they waste the money planning the business out. But a good retailer, it probably has put a system in play. The problem, I think, is when you go to approach most boutiques, they're bad retailers. And they might not understand the need for something like this, not because they don't need it. They absolutely probably need, to Pell's point, a solution to their pain point. But because most of these guys like ended up in this and are making money, sometimes when you're making money, you're not looking at what you're not getting. You're like, I'm good enough, and you're comfortable in like your inefficiencies. So that to me is like the biggest hurdle, is like some of these guys just aren't smart enough to realize they need it.
The big thing I can contribute just to you real quick is it's just a quick point just for you to consider. Going back to the initial question you got from Dre, which is, his first question was retail optimization is broad. So I think going back, taking a step back from what Pell is saying, is find a way to communicate really quickly what the actual value prop of the product is. Retail optimization is a lot. What is that key point that if I am the buyer, I'm James, I'm Dre, I read that and I'm like, oh, I've been thinking about that. Right? Like that bang on specialization that the project kind of gets in, and then you can start layering the other facets of how the business goes through. So that was a big question that Dre asked, because again, the first question most would be the retail optimization, how, what? So let's really dial in and really focus on what you're solving with the problem and call it that out the gate. So it's very specialized and people address you in that manner. And at least the interest starts building from there. You look at the top of the funnel, right? Like past awareness, how you look, you start looking at interest, decision, and action, right? So.
Thank you. Thank y'all for that.
No, you're welcome. Good question, bro.
Yeah, and I sent you we got Dave Patterson up here, who's one of our retail directors, and then I also sent you some contact information in the chat. So check the chat, and we'll get you connected on the back end.
All right, sounds good. Thank y'all.
All right, you're welcome.
We had one more up here that I wanted to get to. I'm trying to find it again. I lost it in the shuffle. Where is it? Yep, here it is. Shane Perez.
Yeah,
It's in the chat.
I'm actually been just answering some of the questions that are directed directly to me in the chat.
You want to answer that one in the chat?
No. Bring it out.
Okay,
bring it out. Bring it out.
Yep.
I was just trying to make sure everybody was being heard, especially as stuff.
Got you.
Hutch, somebody asked, do you want to do voiceovers for their commercial?
Shane doesn't want to unmute his camera, so we'll move on to another one. Let's see. Who else we got? Normally able to fill these a bit faster. My backup lost their power due to a storm, so excuse the delay. Okay, Jay Ward has a people question about standards and expectations.
These are the toughest ones.
Yeah.
Hey, how y'all doing?
How you doing, brother?
How you doing?
I'm good. Before we get started, man, I just wanted to say, man, I appreciate everything that y'all been doing. It's an inspiration just to hear, men and women like yourselves, just giving us positivity and letting us know, some insight on what's going on and just to put us on game. So I do appreciate y'all guys. So basically I have a brand. It's called Proud Black Brand. I actually have the shirt on right now. I'm releasing some shirts tomorrow. Instagram is called Proud Black Brand as well.
Hold on. It's Proud Black Brand, just at
Proud Black Brand. Yes, sir. And basically it's a brand where all we're doing is we're trying to shed spotlight on just Black positivity. We're just trying to shed spotlight on doctors, engineers, all types of just Black people doing positive things.
How many shirts you selling tomorrow?
I have about 120, and that's between polos and shirts. But t-shirts itself about 90. So
we going to your social.
Okay, yeah, definitely. I appreciate it because I'm really trying to blow this thing up. I know it's gonna be global. I know it's gonna be big. Got to start from the ground up.
Speak it to existence, brother.
Yes, sir. The plan is to get some stuff in your store. That's long-term goals, but we gonna make it happen. I'm telling you, I'm on it, man. I'm telling you, I'm on it. But basically,
I just put you on my stories, bro.
Okay. Oh man,
I got like 3 followers, but I'm gonna post you.
I appreciate it, man. So basically,
hold on, bro. Where's the t-shirt drop up here? If there's a drop tomorrow, I don't see the plug for the t-shirt.
Actually, so I had a whole presentation, man. If you scroll down a little bit, I have a video presentation. It's called the 2020 Summer Capsule. You'll see all the shirts on that, and then tonight I'm going to release, the full blowout of everything that I'm selling. But it's probably about like 8 posts down. You'll see a whole video. I did a whole concept. It was a whole presentation.
Official summer capsule.
Yep. The official 2020.
It's a bunch of crews and long sleeves. It's like
I see it.
Yeah.
Now.
Oh yeah, man. We trying to come correct. We trying to come very creatively. We trying to come different. I'm telling you, this thing is gonna be huge, and we just on a whole different type of time with this brand, man. And I just know that it's gonna reach the world, and I know it's gonna be big. So, I'm just trying to spread the word and really trying to, just let people know that it's people I'm from Raleigh, so I'm just trying to let people know it's people in Raleigh that are creatives that are doing great things, and instead of Charlotte, everybody thinks of Charlotte, but Raleigh got some people too,
Man, hit us at Be Social so we can get that pop-up going, man.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes,
You ship to
yes,
Canada?
sir. Say that again.
You ship to Canada?
Yes, sir. Yeah, I ship to Canada. Yes, sir.
I'm gonna grab a couple.
Okay. So what question do you have for us?
Okay. All right. So in this, basically, I'm doing all this stuff by myself. I can't even lie to you. Like I did the website, I've done the financial reports, I've done the inventory, I've done the whole nine. I've done everything, and basically I tried to basically bring in some people and just have conversations with them, and everything, when you give that talk about what the brand is about, everybody seems like they're into it. They're, oh yeah, I'm with it, let's do it, yada yada. When we go on to, I guess, like the next, I'm excited because I'm like, okay, I might have a team. I might be able to really, release some stress off of me, but I may be able to really, help. I want to help people around me. I don't want to do this by myself, So basically, once we get to the next stage and I'm like, okay, guys, let's just go ahead and like start bouncing some ideas off each other. Let's text every day. Let's do the whole nine. I don't get the energy of what we had initially. And I don't get text messages. I tried to do like a little notes group thing and nobody wants to include in notes. So I'm just trying to figure out, like, am I basically giving people more expectations on themselves? Am I giving expectations than
Tim S just said it. People are not going to care about it like you do. It's your baby. You love it.
Yeah.
It's very rare to find people who care about the thing that you do as much as you.
Okay.
And it a lot of times it takes a very long time for you to put a team together of people who are invested in what they're doing, because they're doing it and they got a sense of pride in everything that they do. That's one thing. Obviously, shout out to our team. Like we go through our ups and downs, but it's way more ups than downs. And for a large part, people are more invested in our overall growth than than their individual growth. And when they're not, I'm sure to call it out, if that makes sense. So that's one of the toughest parts about building a business. Not one of, it's the toughest part. The people part of the business. Being well funded and having great people, if those two things could be solved, business would be easy. Does that make sense? The people.
Are these guys your partners, or they just helping you out?
No, well, I'm not even gonna lie to you, man. I kind of just like disconnected from them because of the simple fact, if I'm not really getting, feeling like you're not really into it, and you're not really giving me ideas or helping me out, when I'll send out a text and say, hey guys, what y'all think about this? And like the response is kind of like, like it's not really engaging to where, like, okay, well, it sounds like you must got something else going on, or, you may just be focused on something else, which is fine.
Bro, you gotta put the team on your back.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You gotta carry it. Listen, I've been doing this for 15 years. Only in the last 5, the team for 15 years was the people at the doors and basically me at my house, if that makes sense. That was the option. Okay. Only in the last 5 years has that team grown from the team at our retail doors to 60, 70 people at a distribution center in the office. I say that to say that means I was the accountant, the finance person, the buyer. I used to say all the time, won't you hire a buyer? I couldn't even wrap my head around the idea of trying to get people,
He was a terrible buyer. So he really needed a buyer.
No. I ain't gonna say that right now, but I was. I'm gonna just give you that.
I'm gonna jump in real quick. I think a big thing that will be really easy to do that's an actionable step is, obviously you're in a space now where you have people around you and they didn't live up to what your expectations were, but a big part of it, and a big piece of us can tell you, is what the values of your brand. Like I'm even looking at your Instagram, it looks like you're trying to achieve a lot. I think you really are going a strong direction. I think it's important to do a values exercise to start looking ultimately as to what's a proud Black person, who's a proud Black brand person. And as you look to, you clearly have done an exercise for your consumer, but start looking at the kind of people that you want representing your brand and working for you. A values exercise is really easy. Vincent was on earlier, and he's a Nike employee. I used to work in Nike retail. Nike will hire someone that's like-minded. You live through your maxims, you know who that person is. And a big part of it is once you have those values, a big testing ground is starting to give people incremental responsibility. I think a big thing I've been able to learn through leadership through the years is once you find someone that's like-minded, again, I hate to point to James a lot, but like I entered his life, took a small part of responsibility, and he's given me a bit more. You earn that step all throughout, but the values are aligned. We're chasing the same similar goals. I don't have a real estate portfolio, but he sees the vision. So start looking at the values that go from there. And there's some great resources online to be able to find some values exercise. I can try and track one down and put it in the chat. But building the values, seeing what that person and profile is, then start looking at people that match those profiles and incremental responsibility. Because to James's point, if this is not their ship, most people don't want to steer it. And that's just it. They like to be a passenger. And as long as you let them be a passenger, they just kind of just coast and sit around and wait for the captain to tell them something. Right?
I'll give you one, bro. Go to buying at the Whitaker GRP. Hold that black and white proud black T-shirt for a week. Ship us 24 at wholesale, and we'll launch it with you.
Oh, okay. Can you say that one more time, please?
Buying, BUYING at the Whitaker, WHE. No, THE. Damn, I can't spell. THEWHITAKER-GRP. My fault. I know I'm spacing.
It's in the chat, man. It's in the chat for him.
In the chat. Okay. I appreciate it.
Jump in. We'll work on the black and white. We'll work on the black and white tee. It obviously works in a moment. You don't have any retailers, I'm assuming, except us. So we'll blast you out on our APV and social status platform and help drive some attention to you and build you up.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you, sir. I appreciate all of y'all, and I'm going to keep tuning in like I've been doing. And man, I thank God, man. I appreciate y'all, seriously. Thank y'all so much.
No, thank you, bro. Make sure you kill it. My team gonna be on your ass.
I'm planning to. If y'all can, watch out tomorrow. I know this thing is gonna be great turnout.
Oh, you got amazing energy. That's why James is doing.
Yes.
Your energy is pouring through.
Bro, your energy is incredible. Just hold
a lot
on.
of dudes come on here with brands, and he doesn't throw that out there. So like, if you can't find people that think like you, just keep at it, man. You're gonna draw them in because you got that crazy passion, and other people are gonna be drawn.
Yo, somebody just said bring them to DC. Yo, hold that black and white T-shirt for me, and it can get real interesting real fast, man. Just make that color for us. Don't drop the T-shirt. Have a chance to talk to Brandon and Khalil and you tomorrow, and they'll make sure that we'll put something together that's meaningful for you and help grow your business.
One more second, brother. You said don't drop them tomorrow.
Do not drop black and white. Hold black and white.
Okay.
You want to sell 12 or you want to sell? Let's talk tomorrow.
We'll talk tomorrow. Yes, sir. I got you.
Let's talk tomorrow. We're going to help build. We're going to show you how to put some value in the brand and make sure you moving with purpose.
Do you see how James works? Now I asked you if you ship to Canada. He pulled a T-shirt. I gotta buy from James now. How that works? I gotta call him to buy your T-shirt.
Man, listen. My idea for getting my 50,000 to 3 million might be just be putting it in proud black. Damn it, let's go.
Yes, sir. I appreciate y'all, man.
I love your energy, bro. We'll definitely hit us tonight. Our team will be at you first thing, or maybe even tonight. They working late.
Sounds good. I'm gonna hit y'all right now.
All right, bet.
All right.
Send the CAD. A PDF. If you don't got a PDF, just lay one on the ground and take a picture of it.
Okay. All right. Got you.
All right, I got you, bro.
All right.
Peace.
No, the idea of that right now is just like out of here.
Going to sell.
For sure.
Yeah. Come on, like, oh goodness gracious.
Great team.
He's out of here.
Varsity letters.
Yeah, he's out of here. He's out of here, man. He's out of here.
Great team.
Oh, his energy, man.
Oh, his energy,
That's energy right there, man. That shit had me smiling. I'm like,
talking about have a team. We about to put him on our team.
it was coming. It was like, yeah.
Yeah, he got me excited.
That's what I'm saying. I'm over here like smiling and shit, ready to go.
I'm really excited now because now I get to get a discount from James.
Yo, he charges you?
You got a
Y'all silly, man. But all right, it's 9:15. I think that's a good moment that we could wrap on. Any final thoughts from anybody? Mark, thanks for joining us tonight, man. We appreciate you coming out. Any final thoughts from any of our panelists as we round up the night?
I got one, man, because I think the idea of money's flighting, man. I think money is about discipline. Money is about focus. Money is not about things. Money is not about money doesn't define who you are. Money is money is an instrument that helps I guess everything around you get better and allows you to invest in yourself and invest in other people. So want it, but don't define yourself by it. But if you want it for the right reasons, just focus on it and be tenacious and save and invest your time in the right things. Because if you're disciplined in investing your time in the right things and also disciplined in keeping your twos and fews saved, those twos and fews will become that 50,000 that becomes the million, that becomes 10 million. And then next thing you know, Ari gonna call it. Now you're in the 100 million club and life gets good. I'm still trying to get that call from Ari. I'm working. This free game is really about trying to get to Ari club. But no, I appreciate everybody investing their time. I appreciate all my friends for the support, because without this network, I wouldn't have a net worth. And Ari, I'm gonna send that interest payment on Monday, bro. I know it's the holiday. I'm gonna still get it out though.
Yeah, man. Big goes anyway. Holidays or not, you know how that goes.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Yo, thank you guys for your time, man.
Okay.
James, thank you for having us.
All right.
Thank
Peace.
All right, man.
All right.
Everybody have a good night. Peace.